World Agroforestry Centre is a CG center working on integrative research on agriculture and forestry for smallholders and developing countries. So basically we're working on tropical areas underdeveloped countries, or least developed countries in Africa, in Asia, general Asia and Latin America.
Okay, and what is it specifically that you're working on? Why is it that you have come, or the message you have here in Doha?
Actually, we came to deliver the message on the way we can achieve adaptation to climate change in a smallholder farming system using a kind of integrated approaches that combine trees and agriculture in a sustainable way, not only to achieve food security objectives, but also to kind of contribute to mitigation to climate change through climate smart agriculture.
I mean, what are the problems at the moment with smallholder farmers? I mean, what are the problems they face in relation to adaptation that you're seeking to rectify?
So first of all, if you look at climate change impact, the big burden of climate change impact will go into agriculture. In terms of proportion, people are mentioning kind of 30% of impact of climate change into agriculture. So there is definitely a need to adapt the agricultural systems into climate change. And while doing that, we need to look at the processes of ensuring enough food for the local farmers. And usually they do not have enough possibilities to grow their own, to invest into their own system. So what we need is to see very adapted systems, integrated systems, landscape approach, which not only consider trees, crops, soils, and all those together in order to achieve the food security systems while mitigating climate change.
I mean, obviously, this is something you're working on at the moment. How far are we away from a well-adapted, integrated system, this kind of system you think will be necessary to meet the demands of climate change?
So for the time being, the approach is quite sectoral. People are talking either on forestry or talking about agriculture. The issue is to do a kind of integrated approach in a landscape based. The landscape is very much affected by agricultural system, by deforestation, by increased use of fertilizers, by the kind of mismanagement of manure. All those things are contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. So what we are trying to look at is how to have the best out of a suboptimal situation, trying to combine adaptation as the first objectives and trying to achieve mitigation objectives at the second objectives. So that's where the research in aircraft is going.
And presumably very different conditions, whether you're working throughout Africa, Latin America, Asia, farmers work in different ways, different history, different soils, obviously. So how do you go about an integrated approach across the whole, a global approach across the whole region in a way to solving this problem?
Absolutely, there are many specificities if you go to region, and that's where land management is quite important to consider. We are not only relying on formal science, which is driven by research and universities. We are also trying to capture local knowledge in terms of management of land and the good successes and good lessons from integrated system across the world, and try to use those information combined with the science to do some kind of upscaling of this information and try to reach a broader group of rural dwellers in order to adopt new pathways of adapting their agriculture into the changing climate.
And how would negotiations here, agreements here in Doha, COP18 and beyond, help you to achieve these goals?
Actually, when you attend the SABSTA meeting, you have the feeling that adaptation is coming up front of this negotiation, and this is what the message we want to hear, because at the end of the day, for developing countries, the biggest issue is adaptation. Mitigation is a core benefit, so we are trying to see how well we can first achieve food security, and second, combine these food security processes with mitigation to climate change. So the negotiations are going along this line, and we expect that a lot of investment will come into adaptation of farming lands for smallholders, which is more than 70% of the local communities. And these people are relying in a great deal on local knowledge and how we can trigger this local knowledge and combine it with what we know in science in order to have a good impact, a global impact of food security globally.